You're listening to the World Footy Net podcast. Welcome to the World Footy Net podcast. You can email us at podcast@worldfooty.net or alternatively, post your comments on the World Footy Net Facebook page.
Hello everyone out there, this is Dre Footy, and welcome to our landmark 50th episode of the WFN Weekly Podcast. I want to take a moment and first thank all of you that have been listening and been so supportive of what we're doing here at WFN domestically and internationally to raise the level of awareness about the beautiful game that belongs to the world. In this special episode, we're privileged to speak exclusively to the new manager of the Atlanta Silverbacks Pro Men's Football Team, Eric Wynalda. We'll get his impressions on his first week in charge and what he thinks of the players and fans in Atlanta so far. In our second segment, we'll bring back Ted Westervelt of Soccer Reform as we begin the debate about the structure of football in America and proposals on how the implementation of open leagues could be a positive for the United States. In our last segment, our regular crew will banter on about the transfer season going on around Europe right now, as well as other thoughts in this off-season in Europe. From this point forward, you'll observe some changes to the podcast, which will include more guest interviews, listener phone-in comments, as well as giveaways to registered listeners. Contact us for more details or simply go to our website to register for our weekly newsletter. Now sit back and relax and enjoy this segment of the WFN Weekly Podcast.
Good evening, everybody. This is Hooligan J. Broom, and I'm speaking with Eric Wynalda. How are you doing this evening, Eric?
I am, if I told you where I was, you probably wouldn't believe me, but I am in the back office of the co-ed league, looks like the storage unit of Silverbacks Park, where I was hanging out with the guys tonight, some of our staff and our sales team, and just having some beers and enjoying the evening. So I'm actually sitting in one of those back rooms, so it's a little bit more quiet for you, but that's where I am. I'm happy to be with you.
Thank you very much. I gotta say, Eric, after meeting you a couple of times, you were a laid-back guy and a pleasure to be around. And you know, I think I speak for all footy fans here in Atlanta. We're happy to have you here. As many of us,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, as many of us diehards watched what you did with your Cal FC guys, and now, hell, you brought some of them here. You know, what more could we ask for? I mean, you've made a lot of people in this town extremely happy, more than I think you even realize.
Well, I mean, you know, what I have realized though is in the last couple of weeks that there's a soccer culture that in Atlanta that I didn't really know how strong it was, and it's been only a little over a week since I've been in charge, and I think just being here tonight to see the co-ed league and just the traffic of people that are passionate about the game. It's been a fun night tonight, but the whole experience up to now has been fantastic. And to be honest with you, we've made some big changes. You already alluded to it. I brought some of the Cal FC guys in, but I've already had to make some tough decisions that basically have implications on the squad. And I think we're getting stronger. I think this is a group that was going in the wrong direction, but we had to do the 180, and it was a little bit of an adjustment period. But this is a team that I don't think many teams in the NASL want to play against right now, because we had a great result in Minnesota, and now the thing that's cool is that there's a little bit of confidence brewing with the guys, and that makes them dangerous. That makes them the team that has something to prove, and we saw it today in training. I mean, training was great today. We had people flying. A lot of stuff going on. We keep it competitive, and we're going to have to move some people out and move some people in, but the idea always was, when Boris brought me in and Andy Smith, is to make this team better, stronger, and faster. And that's we're already almost there, believe it or not. It hasn't even been 10 days yet, but I feel like we've been able to make some serious strides. Looking forward. I really, really am looking forward to Saturday night. I think the guys are going to be fine.
Yeah, and I just want to dovetail into that. As a guy, me myself, I had the pleasure of watching you play in San Jose at one point, living in California for years. But it just, I think you're a good footballing mind. As I've mentioned before, I might be the only Arsenal supporter in the known universe that still likes you.
Hey, what's the update, by the way? I was told today Dempsey was all set to go to Liverpool and change his mind and ended up being a Gunner. What happened?
No, I think Dempsey may be on the bench more than he wanted to be, but I think he could have a home at Arsenal. I think he could, but no, I think he's a Scouser, and that's just that.
There it is. Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot going on there. Obviously, we kind of felt that with the American ownership that there might be a fit there, and but then again, big club, great job for Dempsey. He's done a fantastic service to his country. He's a good spokesperson for everything this country stands for. I love him. I think he's he's a pain in the ass, and he can be a problem for anybody. But I love the way he addresses the game. He's serious. He's pissed off, and when he's pissed, he plays better. And I love that about him.
Exactly. Kind of back to the Atlanta squad. Not that I wouldn't love to sit and talk EPL with you, but I want this to focus on the boys. What is the shift in philosophy and attitude you're bringing to the table? What are you demanding out of the guys? What are you putting forth?
You've been out. You've seen us practice. I think one of the things that surprises a lot of people about my style is that I don't want to be out there a long time. And the demanding part of this is when you're here, you work hard. There is no, coast through practice or coast through a play. I think what has happened with this team, and from what I understand, how the previous regime kind of handled things, is that it was a different attitude towards practice. It was a different attitude towards the way they did things. Practices lasted 2 hours long. They didn't really get a lot accomplished, and guys were just kind of going through the motions. These guys developed a lot of bad habits. I mean, a lot of bad habits. And I've had to lay into them a few times. I'm like, if you're going to do it, then do it right. If you're going to come out here and be here, and you're going to play this game, we're going to pay you money to be a professional soccer player, don't waste my time or yours.
Right.
That message was clear on day one. And I think that the guys I think they longed for that. They responded to it. They were like, great, good, let's go. And I was really proud of their performance in Minnesota. That was fantastic. It was a very professional win. There was some frailties there. There was some problems that I saw as a team, and we fixed it. With the arrival of Michael Randolph, I think we've handled the left back position. I mean, Chris Klute's a great player, but I've told him straight to his face, that's a left back. Watch and learn. If you want a future, watch how this guy plays the game. You'll have your chances to play, but you're not there yet, and we want to win now.
Right.
So if you want to be a part of the later, learn it so you can help us later. But I think Michael's been a great addition. In goal, we've got three fantastic keepers. I got a real big decision to make coming up in the near future about who's going to win that spot, because it's I want to make it clear that job is also up for grabs.
Yeah.
But I think the addition of Denny Barrera, brings a little bit of class into the team, a little bit of quality that maybe isn't there at times. But I mean, how is it possible? I mean, I don't want to criticize, but how is it possible that a player like Jabari Willis can just sit there and not get any playing time? He was obviously a huge part of our win the other night.
Yeah.
That was a great conversation, and I'll share it with you. I mean, I probably shouldn't, but he's not making a whole lot of money, and he lives a long ways away. And I sat down with him in my office this morning, and I said, here's the deal. How does more money in a house and a car or apartment and a car feel? And the look on his face was great. He goes, are you for real?
Yeah.
And I said, this is real. This just got real. This is what this is all about. This is your opportunity to embrace it. So you in or out, because I like you. I'm going to play you. The funniest story I can tell you was when on Thursday last week, he kind of got in there a little bit, about 10, 20 minutes. And after practice was over, I pulled him into my office. I think you were there. And I said, listen, Jabari, what are you doing tomorrow? Can you even get to the airport? And he said, well, I don't know. And I said, well, I have every intention of taking you to Minnesota and starting you. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, can you make it to the airport? I need to know if you can get there. And he said, I'll figure it out, Coach. And that was that. Yeah. And look, this isn't rocket science. I am a soccer guy. I know the game, and I know a good player when I see it. But sometimes you just gotta you instill a little belief in a player right. Who really hasn't done anything. And this is the starting point, and that's the best part about this game, man. It's you got a chance to express who you are.
Absolutely.
Good, bad, or indifferent. I've said it a million times, and we got some different personalities in here. But when Buff, when Carr ran 60 yards just to hug me, I knew that there was a different feel in the team. That was his first goal of the year, and that felt pretty cool. Just as a manager, just as a human being, I think that was pretty cool to see players react the way they did and get to enjoy a win. Get to feel that. Get to feel what it's like to win a game and not, wake up the next morning and go, let's get on a freaking plane and go home. We lost again.
Yeah.
They went to Minnesota and they beat last year's champion 2-0, and that hasn't happened to them in a long time. Manny Lagos called me today. He's still upset about it. And I think a lot of people, he is. He's not happy at all. He said he's watched the damn tape twice. You guys kicked our ass. And I'm like, well, look, you'll get over it. But sorry it was at your expense. But my group's motivated right now. And he was funny about it. He said, I'm just glad I'm not on your schedule for a while. So we've got some games coming up, and it's an exciting time because anytime you make a coaching change, it's going to be a change in the way guys address their job.
Absolutely.
But, I give a lot of credit to the management here. They've let me make some pretty bold changes, and it's working out so far. So I'm enjoying it.
It was what was needed. And as far as Jabari and Carr goes, a lot of those reserve guys. Now for 2 seasons, because I go to the reserve games. I'm a footy fan. It's what I do. It's my life. And I wonder, at some points with some of the guys on the first team, I'm wondering why the reserves aren't moving up. I'm like, because they're, I think to myself, they have way more hunger in their play than any of the first team guys. Why are they not up there? Because
look, and that was addressed. I mean, that was one of the first things I did, and not a lot of people know that, is I sat down with Ricardo Montoya, and we went over tape, and we watched players from the reserve team, and I kind of reached out to him because it's imperative to me, and I told management the same, that there has to be a working relationship between the reserve team and the first team.
Right.
There has to be, guys aspiring to be, in the positions that are currently taken by guys that are in the first team, and there has to be that competitive environment that nurtures the next player. And that wasn't, I don't think that was fully functioning when I got here.
It wasn't.
And it still isn't. We got to figure it out, but you're absolutely right. I mean, people say it all the time. You need guys that are hungry. I think Jabari and Chris Clute, they haven't eaten for a week. It's time to give them a steak dinner. And they got to have something. We got to give them a reason to come to work. And the fact that both of them are going to get different contracts, be living in an apartment closer to home. They live an hour away, both of them.
Yeah.
And they're coming in, and we had to figure that out. That was one of the things that is my job. I told Jabari right to his face today, I said, my job is to take your trash off of take that responsibility and throw it away. I need to focus. I need you to focus on what you're doing. I need you to play this game to your ability. And if you got problems, you got to come give them to me. It's my job to make them go away. And we covered most of that today. It was a pretty cool meeting. And I like him a lot. I like him as a person. Obviously, his ability is raw, but I'm going to help him get to wherever he wants to go because he deserves it. He's already put in the work. It's just time to
Eric,
polish it up a little bit.
I think you'll find the longer you're here, when you referred to Ricardo, he has an eye, and he doesn't pick dummies at all. Yeah. He knows exactly what he's doing. The man has a plan, and he's.
And here's the other part of that. And here's the other part of that, which is important. If you're going to be a manager of a football club, any club in the world, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's first, second, third, and fifth division. Doesn't matter. If you can afford it, get people who know what they're doing around you. Yep. Get people who can help you get better around you. That's the only way you're going to build a culture of winning. And that's that conversation and that relationship with Ricardo. It's a difficult one because he's frustrated. He's been here. He's put the work in. He knows what about as much as he needs to know about everything. But sometimes he was stiff-armed a little bit.
Yes.
Pushed in the back corner, and as a resource, he was basically told, "We don't need you." And I embraced him. I told him, I said, "Listen, you do have a keen eye." He looks a lot like Jorge Campos, by the way. Freaks me out. Every time he starts talking, because I'm buddies with Jorge, and I said, "Have you ever met Jorge Campos? Because you two might be brothers. I know you're Costa Rican, but this is weird." But we've had some pretty cool conversations already, and he will be a guy that I look to he wants to look, and I don't think he's made any mystery about it. He wants to be given an opportunity to be a head coach somewhere. I would never hire anybody who didn't want my job, as long as they went about it the right way. At some point, you want these guys to start learning how to do, to learn their craft so they can be capable of being a head coach someday. So I embrace that. I'm not worried about it. It's not something that I stress about. It's not something that I think I'm insecure about. That's just not the way this works. If you got a guy that wants to get better, I can help him and he can help me. I think that's a pretty good relationship.
Absolutely. More about the squad. I told, because my audio man and myself, both of us have a relationship with Martin Lancaster. And I told Martin today, said, Saturday, you, for the first time, you looked like you were out there having fun. You looked relaxed. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, looking back at some of the tape, everybody looked relaxed, like they were playing their game. And it's amazing to me, Eric, that change has come in 1 week, not 1 month, 1 week. And even today at training, I look at everybody and I'm like, yeah, everybody has a smile on their face. There's not this glum, we're waiting on the apocalypse look. everybody looked happy.
Well, I felt that. You could, and I appreciate you noticing, because I think one of the things that I noticed very, very consistent with what you just said is the first time I met the team, this was a bunch of insecure, somber group. They just didn't know. They just looked at me like, yeah, why the hell did you take this job? We suck, and that's the look I was getting. And it was kind of funny because, once you roll your sleeves up and you start realizing what you have, and you start to dig a little bit, it's all about enjoyment. If you're not enjoying it, don't do it.
Absolutely.
And I think that we've been able to, in a very short time, as you said, turn things around. Everybody, my goal, if I had any goal in the first week, is to get these guys hitting that alarm clock and saying, I can't wait to get to work. Whether that was out of fear, that they simply, were like, oh man, I got to get to work and I got to prove something. Or it was, I can't wait to get to work to see the guys. I mean, there's a couple of things I changed. The first thing I changed about, we put breakfast in there.
Yeah.
Guys get to work, and there's bagels and cream cheese and some coffee and orange juice. It's a minor thing. This is so minor. But now they know it's there. So they're not going to stop off at some place or eat something at home. They're not going to waste that time. They're going to get to work, and they're going to eat as a team. They're going to all sit there, congregate, talk to each other. You're a team. You're here. And it's a little minor thing, but it goes a long way. I only instilled a couple rules. I made everybody shake hands with everybody at work. Shake their hand, look them in the eye. That's your teammate, that's your coach, that's a colleague, whatever. And they didn't do that before. It forces you in 3 seconds to know what's going on in that guy's life. You shake his hand, you look at him, and either he's smiling or he's not. And you say, are you all right? That's a conversation that never would have happened unless you made people shake hands.
Yeah.
It's just a little minor thing. But I told guys, don't be late. And accept each other and respect each other. That's it. Accept each other, respect each other. We get there, we're going to be all right. Everybody's different, but I'm not going to treat everybody the same. And, I got so much stuff that I can't even tell you that I'm dealing with. But still, again, my job as the manager of this football club is to take their pressures off of them. Ask them about the why this is happening. Now, I know what happened, and just tell me why it happened. Tell me why you were late. Tell me why you have a problem. Tell me why you're in a bad mood. Let me fix it. I can help you. And I think that's the beauty of being a manager is if you know what you're doing, and you take a little time. You saw it. I mean, you've been there. I get overloaded, but all of those little intricacies that I got to deal with on a daily basis, you got to make all the little stuff go away to make the big thing work. So it's hard, but it's work, but it's worth it when they win.
And I'm going to use this word, and it's something that I can tell you're working into the culture of that club, and it's accountability. And you just said it about being on time. I saw last year into this year, nobody held anybody accountable. And it's just like I told my U15 today. Monday and Tuesday, we practice at 2. When I had 3 of my kids today, they called me at 10 after 2, and I didn't answer my phone. And they get there, and they're like, but Coach, we called. And I said, but you called me at 10 after 2. Bloody hell, I already knew you were late at 10 after 2. What good does a phone call do? I already knew you were late.
I'm going to tell you this. I'm not going to tell you the name, but it's kind of funny, I thought. He just asked me separately. He said, hey, Coach, what time's training tomorrow? I said, 8:30 for 9. And it was 9 for 9:30. I just told him I lied to him. So
Yeah.
he got there at a little bit before 9.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he said, sorry, I'm late. I said, actually, you're not. You're 5 minutes early. and he looked at me and he goes, oh, good. And I said, the only reason why you're early is because I lied to you.
Yeah.
Now, in the future, what I need you to know is it's important for you to be on time. That's disrespectful to everybody else. Now, I know what happened today. You think it's okay because you got away with it, but it's not. It's not okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not. And there's a part of the look on that kid's face that was, okay, I get it. And at that point, you have to say, no, I'm serious. Please don't let that happen again.
Yeah. And that's
the message, because everybody gets a second chance and nobody gets a third. I don't even know who the hell said that, but they were a smart guy.
Yeah.
That's how you manage a team. You want to make sure that, it's a tight. It's not that it has to be, such a tight ship that everybody's on edge and worried about what the boss is going to say if someone's late. It's a respect thing. So that's what I demand from the guy.
Absolutely, and that's part of the culture at that club that has been absent. Here's another thing that's been a little, with the exception of a few players, Matt Horth in particular, Martin at times when he just is not beat up at a game, and there's a couple of others. We have 3 supporters groups out at the ground. Are you going to make it a point, not only yourself, but to make sure the team acknowledges everyone? Because a lot of this season, we've won what now, 7 games and 40, and our supporters groups grow. They don't go away. We are a losing franchise at this point. Yet those of us that are passionate are, we advertise the team. Me in particular, I do a lot of guerrilla marketing for the team in, the Hispanic community in particular, which I don't know why we're not advertising there, but I go out and do a lot of that on my own. No one's paying me, and I grow the supporters groups, and to have the team
let me stop you there. I mean, one of the things that I instilled immediately, and I'm glad you brought it up. Next Wednesday, you get to break this story, I guess, first, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
We are reaching out to the supporters groups tomorrow. This is already something that's pre-planned, and you'll be hearing or get the email. I don't know how they'll make you aware of it, but at the park on next Wednesday night, the team has been given the morning off, and then we're having a barbecue with all of the team, the staff, and the supporters group.
Sweet.
Any supporters group of Atlanta, you will get an email from us, and you have been invited to come have a barbecue with us, because I think it's imperative that we know that the fans know us, as people, that they get to talk to us, not just, okay, it's a flyby just because the game's over and you ask for an autograph and I'm sweaty and can't wait to take a shower. No. Wednesday night, barbecue at the park. Everybody's going to be wearing normal clothes. Nobody's going to be sweaty. And you get to meet us and talk to us.
Awesome.
And Boris will be there. And Andy Smith, our GM, will be there. And, Jose Lizardo will be there. And the people that actually make all the decisions on how this team is marketed and whatnot will be there, the sales team. And you know what the funny part is? This is the first time the salespeople and the people that work in the front office get to meet some of our guys.
Yeah.
That relationship needs to exist, and I'm going to foster that into a relationship that matters to you, to the fans, and to this club, because we are all in this together. And it's something I experienced once as a player, way back, when I made eye contact after a goal with one of the people that worked for the club, and I doubled back and just went and gave him a hug. And it's important. It's so important to connect with the community. They can only support this team. They support this team, and we're not just gladiators that go out there and go get beat up and then go back into our cells. That's not the way that this works. This is a soccer team, and we're human beings, and we need to show our appreciation for the fans. So we're going to do that next Wednesday. That'll be at the park. I think there'll be games going on, but we're gonna basically, the supporter groups will be allowed behind the rope, so to speak.
Well,
and because we appreciate them, and we want to spend some time with them and learn a little bit about them and their lives, and thank them for supporting this club.
Well, see, just so you know, my supporters group in particular, 309, up in the top corner of that upper field, closest to the ground, we barbecue up there every Saturday. We're out there at 3:30 in the afternoon every Saturday.
Beautiful.
I mean, that's
Where do you
that's
guys barbecue? I mean, is it worth me coming by and getting something to eat?
Sometime this month, maybe on the 21st, we'll have ribs. But yeah, usually it's hamburgers, hot dogs. Yeah, but we'll have ribs. I'll do my ribs.
Right,
Everyone likes my ribs.
Tell you what, if you have ribs, I won't pass it up. You let me know if you got some ribs going on.
Okay.
I won't pass
Ribs
that up.
it is.
I don't have to be in shape anymore. I mean, rounds of shape, but I'm trying.
You can work out later.
You still look pretty fit.
I'm doing all right. I'm hanging in there. We brought in Brian Haynes, obviously, and he's going to help us in the future. And we're trying out some stuff. And that doesn't mean that that's a permanent. There's a lot of people who have kind of come out of the woodworks that want to be a part of the organization. I think what we're going to do is partner up in the future. But I think the way that we move forward with the way we address that side of it, as far as the training and the neurosport guys, and that's the physical therapy and the athletic stuff that I think they've done a really good job. I mean, Adam works with us. We got to meet with them today, and we want to kind of up the ante there. We want to take advantage of what they were able to provide. Neurosport's been great. They really have been a great company. And I've been able to kind of figure out more about that since I've been here. Instead of being kind of all over the place, it's really important that everybody's on the same page. And I think what we'll see is having a better ability to address some of the physical nature of the stuff. Hey, but I got to cut you guys off. I apologize. I'm sorry that I couldn't spend more time with you.
Absolutely.
I'm getting waved over by the crew.
Really appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
No, absolutely. It's my pleasure. I'll be talking to you guys, I'm sure, and I'll see you out at the stadium.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll see you at training.
Have a
All right.
good week, Eric.
Cool. Thanks, Eric.
You bet, man. I'll talk
Have
to you.
a good one.
Stay tuned. After these short messages, we'll have Ted Westervelt from Soccer Reform on the line.
Steven?
Yeah?
I'm leaving you. I'm running off with my yoga instructor. We're going to fly to Rome, have bruschetta for lunch, dance in restaurants even though there's no band playing, go skinny dipping, drink Pinot Grigio in the park. I'm not going to wear a bra. I'm going to splash around in a fountain, play hopscotch with young children, smoke a cigar, stay up till all hours of the morning discussing Machiavelli, and gesture incessantly with my hands.
Going for a ride on the Vespa?
Yeah, I'll be back in an hour.
Vespa, the Italian transport legend, now transporting Americans. Vespa has immigrated to the Twin Cities at 7th and Marquette across from IDS. Legendary scooters, fashion accessories, and more. Don't miss the grand opening Thursday, May 16th. All day long, they'll be giving away great prizes. If you're ready to ride, call 612-455-6666. If you just want to salivate, go to Vespa.com.
They say you ought to try something new every day. But like what? Speed dating?
You're just not my type.
It's not you, it's me. I just prefer someone who's better looking.
Yeah. If you want to try something new today, try Michelob Golden Light, the new beer that's cold filtered and draft brewed for an exceptionally smooth taste. Tomorrow you can always try, I don't know, kitten juggling. Michelob Golden Light, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Welcome back to another special segment on the WFN podcast with Ted Westervelt. Ted, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Jay?
I'm doing pretty good. In our continuing exploration of what's really going on inside this country with federation and with soccer in general, this week we're gonna pretty much focus on the federation. You know, I'm sure there'll be some ticks of MLS in there, but
where the problem lies.
Yes, but why don't we go ahead and get into it? First off, as I personally have been doing some federation training to up my coaching license this week, I've just noticed the federation as well as the MLS seem to have a narcissism about them. From all appearances and stuff that I read and some of the training I'm going through within the federation, their focus really seems, if you're not U17 or above, they have no interest. I would think I'm going out and looking at youth, and I'm looking at youth at 9, 10, 11 years old, because that's when you start to identify it.
Like any other good system in the world, like any other good coach, like any other good scout in the soccer world, you're only doing what they're doing.
Right.
I mean, you're on the same wavelength as they are.
Right. And because by the time, I personally have some of my U15 kids that have never been properly coached. And by the time they get to me, it is so difficult to break habits, to teach them to move. You know, their bones, their ligaments, everything's starting to kind of harden. You can't really teach the body movement and get them to open up their hips, for example. It's much not that it can't be done, but it's much harder. And it seems, you know, buying Frank Lampard, buying Keane, Beckham may have been a good move somewhere here and there, but buying Henry, you're buying all these older players that are already legends elsewhere. To us that are real fans, they're burned out by the time they get here. They're past their glory days. For me, they're not fun to watch, because I watch them shank shots that, 6-7 years prior, there's no way they're shanking it. That's hitting net. And so it's painful for me to watch these guys. They're going down in flames and not going down in a blaze of glory.
Well, I've been going on all week with the designated player should just be called celebrity player at this point. I mean, it's not, Beckham was a marketing tool, and Thierry Henry and some of these other guys, and this Bankston guy that New England got yesterday. I mean, we're pulling DPs from. I mean, that was an interesting move. As much as you might want to make fun of it, the Honduran players, but again,
those Central American players, Costa Ricans, Hondurans, El Salvadorians, are up and coming. They are up and coming because
you got to applaud the courage to pull a DP from there, because it kind of acknowledges what we've been saying.
Yeah,
those guys are on the right track, and you're pulling a guy like Bankston for DP money. I mean, that's saying something. That's saying maybe we're not doing things as well as the Hondurans.
Well, I would agree with that. One of our local players who played for the first team last year, has been on the reserve team most of this year, just returned to Honduras to play. Left the United States, the land of opportunity.
Yeah, right.
left the United States to go to Honduras and play. Now, the United States may be the land of opportunity in many avenues, but as far as soccer, it's a dead-end street. It's a dead-end street. There's one house on it, and the house is full of crackheads.
It's not a house; it's a hospice.
Yeah, exactly, and that just seems to be the real narcissism that comes in with our top tier league and the federation. I would think they'd want to do what other leagues do and find a 9, 10, 11-year-old and develop them and get the media on him and say, look at this kid. Yeah. This kid is, as long, barring injury, this kid is going to get it.
Well, there's your short-term versus long-term again, right?
Yeah.
That's the recurring theme in almost everything I get upset about. It's always short-term versus long-term, and I've used the term rising tide lifts all boats about promotion relegation and switching to an open system and, allowing teams to invest and unlimiting every single club in the United States. But I think that doesn't necessarily happen. I mean, looking back at Pele versus Beckham, I don't think there's any argument that Pele, that he was a rising tide that lifted all boats. I'm not quite sure Beckham, if you were to put the Beckham effect and the Pele effect next to each other, I don't know. I don't think it comes out very well for Beckham. I think it's pretty lopsided. But for something about MLS is that's not. I don't think that's translating, and I don't think the money you're spending on, if you throw $20 million at Lampard, are you going to get a similar effect on youth development in this country? I'm just not seeing it.
Well, and that's my question, U.S. footy fans, and if you like the MLS, God bless you. I don't have a problem with that. It is our domestic top tier.
And I was there, and I agree. And I was there with those people 10 years ago. I said, it's what we've got. Stop watching those. Stop being a Eurostop. Stop watching those other games. I was there. I used to argue that. I've been down that road. I had season tickets. I mean, I said, this is ours. We've got to love it and kiss it and hold it and make it work. And yeah, it's not working. So.
Well, and that's my thing. Let these players like Henry, maybe throw a line in the water and test the waters with them and say, hey, would you be interested in coming over here? But don't go try to recruit them with $20 million. Isn't that $20 million better spent for the Federation and MLS working on homegrown community projects? The way it's
structured right now, Jay.
Yeah.
No, that's where I immediately go. It's MLS is another one of those guys that are just dealing the cards that U.S. Soccer's given them, and there's no incentive for these guys to develop players. And I'm sorry, I mean, yeah, the MLS academy system seems to be making some moves, but I don't see anything pushing that academy move and the academy development in this country on the MLS level. Besides sort of a PR effort, besides, MLS, you're not delivering, you guys aren't developing players, and MLS saying, well, we better put up this academy system and get some homegrown players and start throwing this terminology around and hoping that it sticks and hoping that we can score some points off of it, and frankly, hoping that it allows us to keep our system in place for as long as we possibly can. Because I don't see any, the incentive to develop these players. When you can pay a player $60,000, why is it in your best interest to develop a player, which you and I both know costs a whole hell of a lot more than that?
Right. Well, and I guess that's again, we're somewhat on the same page with that. Maybe if you find a kid at 11 years old and you start working with him in an academy system, by the time he's really at the peak of his game, maybe 10, 11, 12 years later, over that period of time, yeah, you might have spent $6 million on that kid, all said and done.
Yeah.
But is that...
You can sell for a whole lot more if you made a good choice, right?
Well, not only that, I think we will not see the real rise in the U.S. game as a whole until we start seeing the Spanish, the Brazilians, the English, the French, the Dutch, the Germans start coming here to poach our players. When we start to see that occur, then we can say, hey, we're doing something right. Until then, you get these anomalies. You get anomalies like Wynalda that can make it in Germany, that chooses to come home at some point to support what's here. You get Dempsey, who just out of sheer hard work and will has gotten where he is. Exactly. Donovan, people argue with me over Donovan all the time, and he's kind of over the hump in a lot of ways. But if Donovan had hit Everton, let's say 6-7 years ago, full time, I think we would have seen a different Donovan at the end of the day. I think we would have seen a much different player. And I mean,
I would have to agree.
If we look at the makeup of the national team, Boca Negra, that whole team that played Canada. Now, as horrible as they played together, let's scoot that aside. But let's look at the fact that a good 97% of those players play abroad. They don't play in MLS. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason they're making Jurgen Klinsmann's national team, because he knows what type of player he has to have to compete at an international level. And those players are not being developed in the United States. They're just not. And I don't think it's out of pure malice or anything.
No.
I think
it's just because the incentive isn't there. And I mean, shoot, Jay, you do a whole lot more coaching than I do, but I just don't see an incentive out there beyond public relations still, even with the new DP rules where you can pay a homegrown DP less, or even with they're trying to put this stuff in to incentivize these clubs, but I still don't see it. I still don't see, with the salary caps the way they are and the short-term cash flow that needs to be insured and and how the short-term always seems to win over the long-term, again, in this case. Right. If you can grab a Guatemalan and pay him $70,000 a year and get you through the next couple of seasons, I mean, it just seems to me that that's a whole lot more cost effective than to develop a player, a serious top player.
Yeah, I find it interesting. Our team that played the Silverbacks reserves on Tuesday is about 60 miles outside of town. It's a bedroom community called Conyers, but that's home to the Georgia Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting to me that they are a Wolves feeder team. Wolves of England, Wolverhampton.
Mm-hmm.
They're a feeder team to Wolves. Now, their whole team, the makeup of their team is not American. They do have some Americans on that team, and this is an MPSL team.
Mm-hmm.
They're 80% African or Hispanic, Central American. Again, interesting, because in I won't name names, but in talking to some of the people that train for that club, I said, why is that? That's interesting to me, because there's a lot of footy out there in Conyers. It's a good footy area, and the Revolution has a nice club set up. It really is nice. And the answer I got was, because by the time kids get to us that have the height, the strength, the speed, they're ruined. They can't trap a ball. They bounce the ball off their foot because no one's training these kids properly. There's no outlet for them. Mm-hmm. And that's because the Federation is not taking their at least in my view, the Federation is not taking their community responsibility very seriously. When they, and I'm not asking for a socialist federation, as it were, But at the same time, they do need to invest back. It's not like they're not making money off these exhibition games that they have in Yankee Stadium or wherever they're making money off of it.
I mean, if the Federation can't take a long view, who's going to take a long view? I mean, that's their job. And I think we've gotten to, and of course plenty of people are going to argue with me on this and say, well, MLS, of course, they're set up in a very sustainable fashion, and the single entity is with the long view in mind, and it is with, here's how we're going to keep soccer, here's how the league's going to survive, and we're going to do it by limiting it, we're going to do it by controlling access, and we're going to do it by limiting salaries and limiting investment in players, basically. Right. And that's our long view, and that's the long view, and this and that and this and that. But MLS shouldn't be taking the long view. U.S. soccer should be taking the long view. And more times than not, and this is another example, they're taking the short view. They're just consistently taking that short view.
Yeah, and it's really backwards, and it's frustrating to me. But
I can't believe, or I would jump at the chance to go and try to sell interest in U.S. soccer clubs worldwide and bring in some investors from all over the world who are used to dealing in this open system. And if we can't get our owners to do it, there's got to be owners out there that you could take to a Sounders game and say, check this out. I mean, you may not have heard of the Seattle Sounders, but they're drawing more than half of EPL, and they're doing it with half the stadium covered with a tarp. So, if our guys, if American owners aren't willing to jump in on this system, we got to find ways to pull investment in it. And I think it's there. I think we can make a case for it. And if we could only break the MLS hold on the Federation, we got a pretty good chance. And again, get the Federation to take that long view and allow a league to take a short view. That's fine. Clubs should be able to do whatever they want. If you've got to cut your salaries for a year to survive, or you've got to make some strong personnel moves on a club level, that's one thing. But we're doing it on a system level, and it's insane to me that we're limiting that investment in these players from a system, from a federation level, and they are permitting it to happen, thinking they're doing it in the long-term interest of U.S. soccer, when you're seeing it on a local level, you're seeing it on a coaching level, and I'm seeing it on a national level, that long-term view might keep MLS alive. But is it really doing anything for the game in this country? Is it really developing our players? Is it really pushing our clubs forward? Is it going to produce what we need to do to take this to the next level? I think the jury has been in for a really long time on that. And the fact that Jurgen Klinsmann's going to checking the family trees and the genealogy of German players still to this day. I mean, one David Regis was enough in 1998, and Klinsmann pulled in how many of them? I mean, it's one of those things. Like, I love talking to you, Jay, because I can see this from the local level, and then what I've seen on the national level over the past 20 years, it dovetails perfectly. There's got to be another way, and it's not like the other way isn't working in Kenya. It isn't working in plenty of countries. And is it having trouble? Is Scotland having trouble with their clubs? Sure. Is Spain having trouble with some of their clubs? Yeah. I mean, they're also in the worst financial crisis they've been in since the Great Depression. So it's not surprising. But anyway.
Well, see, and that's the thing. And that goes back to the top of the discussion with the possible look at corruption. Yeah, you look at Italy's federation. You look at Spain's federation. Is there some corruption going on in there? Well, I think we all would have to say yes. Of course there is. But, I mean, we are the human race. If there's a way we can manipulate something to get personal gain out of it,
sure,
we do. Generally, we do it.
I think you take that corruption thing, okay, there's some corruption in European football. Shocks, I mean, man bites dog. But you can't, to use that to say we're going to limit investment in American soccer. We're going to allow MLS to cap investment. We're going to hold that down, put an MLS salary cap at 1/40th of the average EPL payroll, which is roughly where it's at right now. To use that corruption to hold back soccer is what fundamentally blows my mind at this point. And that still rides. Because you want to avoid a Rangers situation, because you don't want your league to stratify into a Real and a Barca and a bunch of also-rans, you're gonna limit investment in such a draconian way that you're left with a bunch of teams that can't do anything in our own Champions League. Right. Much less Copa Libertadores, which is what they're talking about wanting to do now. It's like you can't. I mean, I watched Colorado get mauled by it's España from. I mean, for crying out loud, they got mauled in dicks. It was ridiculous. I was there. I mean, you got no business in Copa Libertadores right now, but that's, again, it's kind of when all this stuff pushes down, all these press releases come out, and all these guys come up with ideas of, oh, well, if we were only in Copa Libertadores, then that would be better. You're going to get wrecked.
Hey, this is Dre Foote. I just want to interject something. Both of you brought up a good point about corruption, about bad business practices, and I contend that open leagues actually protects the league against that type of thing in the long run. Because if you have a Rangers situation in the MLS, you lose a team. Right. And the only way to get another team is to have a team ready to pay a franchise fee to come into the league.
Or you lose an entire league or an entire system, which has happened to us any number of times.
Many times, ASL, NASL, the list goes on. But in this situation, Rangers gets kicked out because of bad, financial practices. What happens? Another team from the lower division gets to get promoted. Right. The system is already in place. There's no franchise fee. In fact, they benefit. The team benefits by coming up and playing, and nothing limits them from replacing Rangers as one of the best teams in the SPL. So again, even with corruption and the things that they say that they don't want here in the MLS, open leagues is a better protection than closed.
I mean, you can't stop corruption, but you can certainly limit its damage. Yeah. And I think that you're absolutely right, that's the system in which it's not going to disease the entire system if one team goes nuts and overspends. And there's plenty of examples of it, just as there are plenty of examples of teams that did spend beyond their means in the United States and ended up, in many ways, you can make an argument that the Cosmos did have a big part in taking down an ASL. And Bethlehem Steel and Fall River Marksmen had a big role in taking down ASL. I mean, but those teams in a regular system, they've got to throttle in their own finances. They're going to pay the price for their own intransigence, and there's not going to be a league is not going to get smeared with their problems. Right. You're absolutely right. It's a self-correcting system, and frankly, it's not any different than the free market we have and that applies to everything else. I mean, just because Dow Chemical or just because BP has a giant oil spill and they have to pay billions in debt, and there's all kinds of corruption and intransigence going on there, they're not taking down the entire U.S. oil industry. I mean, there's a market in place that can correct for these problems. And it's corrected in Europe through 2 world wars, through a Great Depression, through the Iron Curtain. I mean, it's an incredibly stable system in comparison to ours, and that consistently gets lost on the MLS supporter. And frankly, MLS guys who I know are bright enough. I mean, I don't go picking on these MLS guys on Twitter because I don't think they're bright. I go picking on them because I know they know better. I know they know, and they can identify this pattern, and they can identify these situations, and they can say, you know what? At least it's more than a reasonable argument that 100% of closed leagues, of unlimited clubs, have failed in this game. I mean, these facts are in. You can't get around them.
No,
but anyway,
they're indisputable. Well, guys, with that, I think we're gonna leave it right there for this week, and we'll continue more on this discussion next week. Ted, thank you for joining us. Dre,
cheerio.
Our ever faithful engineer, thank you.
All right, enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
Absolutely, and we'll talk to you, Ted.
Don't go away. After these brief messages, we'll bring in the regular international crew to talk world footy with you.
If someone's trying to look up your business on the internet, will they find you? Or are you still without a website? Let cmather.com get your business website up and running so your customers can find you. cmather.com can even maintain your current site. It's so easy and it won't break your budget. See the amazing deals for yourself at cmather.com. The letter C, MATHER.com, or call 1300 628 437. cmather.com.
You're looking for the perfect job. A job with flexible hours to suit your active lifestyle. A job that doesn't require hard-soled shoes or even regular bathing. A job where you can work an hour a day, dress like Richard Simmons, then go home and wait for the checks to roll on in. You're looking for a high-paying job where people are always telling you how great you are and how much they like the way you say certain things. You can have the perfect job when you're a professional radio announcer. There's just one problem. I already have that job. And one other problem. Your voice sucks. Here's a friend of mine. He also has the perfect job.
The almost perfect job is waiting for you when you're a graduate of Dunwoody Institute of Minneapolis with training in 19 rewarding careers and a placement rate of over 95%. Visit dunwoody.edu or call 612-374-5800 today.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a very special 50th edition of the WFN podcast. I am your not-so-humble host, Hooligan J. Broom. If you want to follow me on Twitter, my handle is Hooligan J. Broom. With us tonight are the infamous Bobby Foo. How are you doing, Foo?
I'm doing great, thanks. Thanks if you want to follow me on Twitter for all sorts of discussions, football-related and non-football related. My Twitter handle is @septic_gooner. And I hate the Spurs as much as the next Arsenal supporter for sure.
Oh, indeed. We also have with us, and I'm going to say his normal name because he hasn't been very angry lately. We have with us Andre Sherrard.
Oh, I appreciate it. My name is Andre Sherrard. You can follow me on Twitter at AHT4005. You can follow me. I'll be talking about soccer, and I will also be talking about how my coworkers kind of piss me off at times.
All right.
Yeah, that's always entertaining.
Mm.
It is. I was rather entertained yesterday, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And last but not least, our founder and faithful engineer, Dre Footy. How are you this evening, Dre?
I'm doing good. I've calmed down since last week, and
are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. And some people were mistaking me for angry from last week, but I assure you, I'm just Dre Footy.
Well, and I assure you, the uninformed and uneducated mind will, of course, mistake passion for anger.
There you go. Thank you very much. Oh, good. And I'm misunderstood as well.
Apparently I'm a dork, too.
Okay, Billy Barton, don't go too far.
Apparently we're dorks.
Yeah, we're all dorks, too, according to some critics here.
You know what? I am a footy nerd. And you know what? I don't give a
Hold up.
It is my life. And so what? I have more of a life than a lot of other people I see running around that are, worried about, you know what? This bar has, 2-for-1 drinks on Mondays. I used to be one of those guys, and I'm not anymore. I'm a footy nerd, and I'm happier. Anyway.
Glad to know you.
Yeah. All right, guys. Tonight's show, since we really, other than some U.S. domestic game, we really don't have a lot to talk about, do we?
Maybe.
As far as actually games being played. So let's get into some rumors and other controversies. First one that I want to go into is, what has everyone read on your boy John Terry?
Yeah.
To me, it's intriguing to me that two grown men are in court because one said the other one called him a nasty name.
And somebody went running to their mother.
And he didn't even hear it.
Exactly.
One is related to Rio Ferdinand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, for me, you're two grown men. If it has come to that, whether it be English society, probably more English society than even American society to some extent, males are taught to be aggressive. That's just how we're conditioned in our societies. You know what? Go out in the back alley and slug it out until you're able to laugh about it. Because it's that stupid, and you should be laughing about it.
Absolutely.
Because it's dumb.
One of the things that gets me about this, every match of football I've played, every match I've watched, I've seen far worse than what they're arguing about or what they're litigating about. Yeah. And I just think it's a situation, somehow it got blown out of proportion and started to get a sort of a life of its own. It's sort of like they've gone this far and they can't go back.
Right.
But it seems so minor to me that I'm amazed that so much time is being spent on it, and I'm still kind of a little confused about it. But today, I was reading about the, Terry went before the magistrates, and he was trying to get the whole thing thrown out, and of course they're not going to do that. And he was explaining that he did get into it with Anton, but he never used racial slurs or anything that was supposed to be construed as such. So I don't know. The amount of things said on a football pitch, it amazes me that this is still being talked about.
Absolutely, yeah. And just to interject, as we sit here, I follow Barclays League on the Twitter, and it says, Terry, girlfriends, wives, and mothers are fair game for abuse, but race is a no-go area. And that's kind of, I mean, I think the whole thing is just absolutely silly. I think if Anton had that much of a problem, wait until Terry walks out of the locker room and slap the Christ out of him. Do whatever you got to do to get it out of your system. But to take it to court?
Yeah, I'd have more respect for him if he had done that. Wait for him outside the locker room than going to cry to his mama.
Good God, man, have some self-respect. Fu, what do you think of all this madness?
Well, I believe that the one thing that I've always said, because, in the beginning of the year, supposedly Cesc Fabregas called Keita a terrorist.
Call the cops.
Or Canute a terrorist. That's who he called a terrorist.
Yeah.
Canute.
Call Interpol.
And I was like, and everybody was mad. Especially a lot of the Muslims on Twitter were very upset. And I was like, well, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you.
Uh-oh.
If he felt that badly about it, why didn't he take care of it himself?
Right.
You're the tough guy. Be a tough guy. Take care of it yourself. I can remember, if on the football field, at the end of a match, everybody shook hands. No matter what was said, no matter what was done, everybody shook hands. Because it really doesn't matter what you see on the field of play. It really does not matter. What matters is what happens afterwards. You go home, or you're leaving, and you say, thanks, guys, I had a great time. Nobody got hurt. and you went home.
Yep.
I mean, I know there's a big difference although there's not a big difference when it comes to sportsmanship, whether I'm playing for free or I'm getting paid to do it.
Yeah.
And sure, there is such a thing as trying to get under somebody's skin or anything like that. But there really, as far as sportsmanship goes, the Corinthian spirit, so to speak, there's really nothing different between me playing against somebody else and at the end shaking their hand and those two professional men trying to needle each other into a mistake. And then at the end of the match saying, I said some things I shouldn't have said. I'm sorry. And turning around and shaking hands and leaving. And that's the end.
Well, but it shouldn't be in court. They should have just gone and handled it like men or let it go completely.
Yeah,
Sherrard.
I think that's the point. Yeah.
Go
ahead, Sherrard.
What's up?
Yo, welcome back, man.
What do you think of all this madness? Weigh in on it. You're the only one of us that has actually played professionally and gotten paid for it. What do you think of this madness?
Yeah, if Terry came up to you and said whatever, what would be the next step for you?
If he said the N-word, I don't know what I'd do. I might black out and I might get suspended for multiple games.
Okay, fair enough.
It's just me. It's just curious that this isn't going into FA and, like the Suarez case where, everybody, I guess, heard him say it, but this is going to court?
Right.
So, it's just kind of weird to me. That's all. I don't understand what's going on. Terry's saying that, I just said what was repeated to me. It doesn't really make too much sense to me, so I'm kind of trying to stay away from it as far as possible because I don't want it to get me angry. But, just let this go. Let these guys, because I don't think anything much is going to come of it. Might get a slap on the wrist or probably just get dismissed, and we'll go on with our day. Because, what does this matter? What is this going to prove?
Yeah.
It's going to prove absolutely nothing. So
it's just a political football.
It just doesn't make too much sense to me, really.
Yeah.
Well, let's. I understand how you feel about that, and that's one of those things. But it is a slap on the wrist, Sherrard. It is a slap on the wrist. It's a 2,500-pound fine. That's it. If he's found guilty.
He could pull that out of his wallet, probably.
Yes. Thanks for reminding me that he's an overpaid.
At least he doesn't play for Tottenham.
Yeah. And you just now said the word. What is up with you two saying the word?
Hey, Tottenham just scored again, by the way.
Let's not litigate over this. I apologize.
What word?
Yeah, the word.
The T word.
Oh. Yeah, the stray cat eaters.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, litigation over this. I apologize.
Yeah, we're going to civil court behind this, buddy. You said a word that's worse than the N word or any other racial epitaph.
Yeah, I know.
You said the T word.
Oh.
Wait, what's the use of calling somebody a name if you can't denigrate them by where they live? That's my thing.
Yeah.
If you're a pikey, you're a pikey, for crying out loud. If you're a scouse, you're a scouse. I think there should not be really anything to...
I am going to find one of their supporters and put them on the air. I'm going to find. That's the goal.
Trust me, they have plenty of things to say about me.
Yeah.
And that really doesn't bother me.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. Enough of that. Let's not get... So we'll move on a little bit. Another thing, I keep seeing again and again, I don't know if you guys have seen this, that Twitchy and Capello are both being considered for the Russia job.
Yeah, I saw that.
What do you guys think of that?
Well,
Interesting to say the least.
It would serve the Russians right if they hired Harry Redknapp.
That's just what I was thinking. You know, we seem to be going back into this
40 years of Cold War. There you go.
Yeah, I mean,
you deserve this.
Because we seem to be headed back in that direction, you know, world politics wise, back into some Cold War. You know, maybe Harry Redknapp can be our secret weapon, the West's secret weapon. We'll send him to Russia and he'll crash the country. He'll spend everything he can get his hands on and crash them.
He can't even write anybody's name up there.
Well, he can write checks. And, I mean, maybe his handwriting's so bad they'll think he's writing in Russian.
I can see him right now. Russian bloke up front, Russian bloke in the midfield. I don't know, man. International ball is so different. I think Capello would be more suited for that. But Redknapp?
Yeah.
It just doesn't fit. One of these things is not like the other. It's like.
Has he even coached outside of England?
I don't think so.
No, and I think there's a reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. What do you guys think about the let me interject one quick question. Roberto Mancini just signed 5 years with Man City. And there's also talk that they're not really going to bring in a whole lot of players this time. What do you guys think about that?
Don't need to bring in a whole lot of players.
Yeah, but he keeps every transfer window he's talking about how many players he needs.
He'll last a year and a half. They're not gonna win the Premier League. Definitely won't win the Champions League. Then the next year will come around. They'll probably struggle in the Champions League again, and then they'll be like, yeah, we kind of want to win this more than anything, and you're not helping us with this. So peace.
Well, and I was gonna say I don't see him seeing any more than 3 years of that 5-year contract.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's the longest I see him lasting. Because I mean, you know, besides the fact that there's probably not a sufficient amount of hairspray in Manchester for his hair. You know, I think he's a little too pretentious for a factory town.
I don't rate him as a manager, quite frankly, and it has to do with his dealings with Tevez and Balotelli last season. I think City won despite him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I just don't see. I think that at some point he doesn't control anything there. It's either the players or the ownership that are making decisions for him. And if there ever was a proxy, he's it.
Oh yeah.
And as soon as the egos take over, and as soon as there's discord, if Man City let's say they go on 1 or 2 game losing streak, they're the type of squad that'll fall apart mentally.
Yeah.
They'll start infighting, and I think that volatile nature about them, I think will cost them quite a lot in the coming years. Will they win next year? I think they have a very good shot of winning next year for the same reason that they won this year. Other teams are rebuilding and reloading. And they could sneak in and get it again, but I think this is it. I think they're going to run into that same issue that Chelsea ran into when they hit and ran hot for so long, for that brief period of time, and then they just kind of cooled off and went off. I think they'll do that little thing too. They think they're going to become the new Manchester United, but they're not.
No.
Here's the thing that Mancini, he got fired from his last job, not because he was winning Serie A, because he was doing that, but he couldn't get out of the second round in the Champions League. So, I mean, the Champions League, you know, they had their first little run with it this past year. So, I mean, now that's definitely going to be a priority of theirs. You know, they wanted to start the first year last year, they won the FA Cup. Then this last year, they won the Premier League. Now is going to be looking at the Champions League. And if he can't get that within these next 2 years, I think he's going to be gone. And I don't think he has a medal for winning the Champions League, especially against guys like Mourinho. And, you know, Pep's going to at least come back after this year. So I don't think that he's going to be any match for any of the other coaches.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I don't think he. I would definitely agree with that. 100%. Well, guys, for this week, I think we've talked enough smack. Let's leave it there, and we can continue on at a later date.
All right.
All right, sweet.